Hey, everybody. My name is Malik Foster, and welcome to the Counterpoints Podcast. I'm one of your co hosts, Malik Foster. I'm joined by my fellow co hosts.
Hi, everybody. I'm Samantha Adams. I'm your other co-host. Malik is away. Everett is away. Both of these guys, they always be, moving and shaking. But Everett is away, so he'll be back with us probably the week after next. But we do have a good topic for you, so let's just go ahead and dive right in. Today we are talking, well, this week what we're talking about is the role of Black people in America, and when we're talking about international issues, especially international conflicts, and the role that Black people in America play when it comes to those issues. So Malik had posed that question to us, and we want to start off giving a breakdown, right? Because the reason why the question had come up is because we were talking about the things that were going on over there in Israel right now. Like you hear everybody talking about it. But the thing is, a lot of people don't really know what's going on, don't really know what's going on over there, right? And so, being as it may, I'm going to give a quick little breakdown as to what's going on. So, many of you all know Israel. There's been conflict going on there since like before Jesus, right? And so, there's been a whole issue when we're not. I just want to be clear, like when people think about Israel, you think about the children of Israel coming out of Egypt, going to Israel to the Promised Land, right? But they were African people. They were African. But at some point, Israel was colonized by Europeans, by the British. Okay. And there's been a whole lot of conflict, a whole lot of stuff going on. But long story short, a lot of the conflict is not between necessarily Palestine and Israel, even though that's who's being affected. The conflict is between Jewish people and Muslim people, right? And so there is a group that's called Hamas. Hamas is a quote unquote terrorist group that is mainly Muslim. They have a manifesto, I believe is what it is. And their goal is to kill Jews, right? And so they at some point won the election in Gaza. Gaza is a strip that's about 25 miles long on the edge of Israel, right? And so the city of Israel, they fight over that, right? Because they want, like the Palestinians want that to be their capital city, where Israelis want it to be their capital city, right? And so they're fighting over that, whether or not they should divide it, how that should work. But essentially, that's what a lot of the fighting is about. It's about who gets control over that piece of land, right? And so now what you're dealing with is, we're not talking about like the original Jew who came from Egypt. We're talking about Jews that are living there, mainly those that have colonized there, right? And so there's a lot of fighting. They have been bombing each other. Israel declared war a couple weeks ago, or about a month ago, because I believe, because the thing about Hamas, they will just indiscriminately send bombs over there. So anybody's liable to get hit. Anybody can get it, right? And so you have where they have both kidnapped each other's people. They've bombed each other's homes. They've killed each other's people. Israel has killed far more Palestinians than the Palestinians have killed Israelis. And there's just a whole fight. And there's a lot of people that have their own opinions about it. Now, those are just facts, right? I'm not throwing my own funk on it or any of that. So, a lot of people have their opinions about it. You see what I mean? And so, be that as it may, people are coming out and speaking about it, right? So we do have a clip that we want to share with you. But before we get into that, I just wanted to know if, Malik, you had anything to add.
Oh, yeah, just real quick. I was going to say, yeah, this is a conflict between Hamas and Israel, not necessarily like, the Palestinian citizens per se or Palestine versus Israel, right? Even though it could be framed that way, but it's more so the government military arm versus Israel, right? It's you can think of it just like what Russia is claiming, right? What Russia's claiming, not sure if it's true or not. I'm not a military expert, but they claimed, so what they claimed that they just want to demilitarize Ukraine, right? So that's similar to what Israel's trying to do. Not they have different reasons for doing such a thing, but that's what the argument is. So I just wanted to kind of make that kind of clear right there. But I can go ahead and we can get into this clip right here by Amari Steinmeier, who's Jewish, by the way, just to give you all some background. All right, can you see the clip? All right, I think you can see it now. Let me back it up.
I woke up, man, this morning with some disturbing news out of Israel that Hamas kidnapping children, putting them in cages, killing women, killing the elderly. That's some coward shit. That's cowardly. And for all y'all Black Lives Matter who ain't saying nothing, well, let me figure out exactly what happened before I say anything. Fuck you. Figure out what? It ain't never been cool to kidnap kids and put them in cages. It ain't never been cool to kill women and elderly. Never been. No matter where you from, what you represent, what tribe you from, it don't matter. There ain't never been no cool. There ain't never been none that nobody supported. And then you go and hide and put the kids in front of you as a barricade. That's some coward shit. All you politicians who always have something to say on the contrary, I see you. Fuck you. All you Black Lives Matter people who always had something to say and always supported everything else and you quiet now, fuck you too. Only place in the world where I can go and study Torah and eat kosher food. Only place in the world. Some coward shit, dog. And all y'all support it, fuck you. On my mama, we don't respect none of y'all for that. Peace.
Yeah, so sorry. It was glitching. Wow, he said a lot.
So yeah, let's just stop for a second. So that was Amari Stoudemire, former NBA player. Amari Stoudemire is Jewish. He's a Black Jew. So I mean, I get where his anger is coming from, but I think it's directed towards the wrong people, right? Because he's talking about Black Lives Matter. I don't know why he thinks Black Lives like what does he think Black Lives Matter can do with regards to a war that's going on in another country?
Well, Sam, I think what he really wants them to do is come out with a strong stance in support of Israel and, something like that. Okay, I understand. But it appears that, there's been some reports and some stuff like that where, Black Lives Matter is actually supporting on the other side, maybe pro-Palestine. But I don't know if they're pro-Hamas, right? Because people don't want a lot of innocent people in Palestine being murdered and killed over this, and that there should be a better way to handle the situation. I think that's what people are trying to get at, not necessarily being pro-Hamas. But go ahead.
Because what people have to understand is Palestinian people are not Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist group. That's like, if I could compare it to anything that people will absolutely understand, that's like the KKK, right? Versus Americans. You can't say all of America is the KKK, right? But there is a select group of people within America that are the KKK. So it's kind of like that, right? And so I get the fact that he wants them to take a stance, but that stance is, what is that going to do? Like, he's talking about, oh, it's not okay to kidnap and kill innocent children and women, right? Mm-hmm. But both Hamas and, Israeli people have done it. So it's not.
That's true. There's viral videos of Israeli, their military force doing things that are considered wrong and inappropriate. Right. So it's definitely been on both sides for sure.
Right. So be as it may, it has been on both sides. It's crazy that people would have that argument. First off, people have to understand that everybody in Israel is not Jewish. Israel is full of Jewish and Muslim people. So that's one thing, right? And then the other thing is you gotta, if your attitude, Mr. Stoudemire, is that it's never okay to kidnap children and kill children or kidnap and kill women, then that has to be your stance, no matter if it's Israelis or Palestinians. Because at the end of the day, like Malik just said, there's a bunch of Palestinians that all they do is go to work and school every day, take a vacation, spend time with their families. They just do regular everyday stuff. They're not involved in all of that stuff. Same thing in Israel, right? You have plenty of Israeli people that ain't involved in that stuff. They're just trying to live their life and provide for their families and things like that. Do the same thing that they're doing in other people are doing in other countries, just literally just trying to live and survive and enjoy their lives, right? And I think that the problem is that people often it has been going on since before the crusade. So I think that people have to be mindful about that. You don't just get up there and start spewing because you want them to say what you want them to say. They're going to say, if they choose to say something, they're going to say whatever it is they choose to say, and you might not like it. So here it was, he pissed off, telling everybody to go F themselves because they're not making the kind of stance he wants to see them make. And then when they make it, it's not even the one he was advocating for. So then it's like, at the end of the day, you got to know everything that's going on, right? I appreciate the fact that Israel is a place where he could go, and only place in the world we can get kosher food and really learn the Torah and all that. That's great. But just like people will go to Mecca and they may feel the same way about the food there.
I don't know if that's the only place he can get kosher food.
That's what he said.
Because there's big Jewish communities, but
I know that. I know that, and you know that. I'm just saying that's what he said. So if he feels like
there's a lot of Jewish people.
Right. But what I'm saying is if he feels like that, that's cool. You see what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean you completely neglect the fact that there's other people on the other side who are going through the same thing. And I think that a lot of times people get things misconstrued. They think that just because you see something happening on one side, it doesn't mean nothing was going down on the other side. And the thing of it is that, you have so many Black people, like people. I guess I want to start off by saying this. Black people are the blueprint. You see what I'm saying? Black people are the blueprint. We are creative. We're intelligent. And the entire world runs on the foundation of the work of Black people, one way or another, whether it be slavery, the ingenuity of the Black person from developing math and, writing, you know what I'm saying? Being the original person, all of that, right? And I think that a lot of times the world looks to hear from Black folks because of that. They only want to hear about us when it's talking about something negative and conflict, and if it's about a conflict or something like that, right? Because when you look at this whole situation, Amari Stoudemire had something to say. We always hear about what Black people have to say as it relates to things that are going on around the world in situations where Black folks ain't involved.
Oh, can I make a comment I want to comment about one thing that Amari Stoudemire did say in the video that I think, is very important, because a lot of Black people have been saying, well, maybe we need to wait and figure it out. And that's a common talking point that white people in this country, suspected white supremacists, other groups will say, oh, when Black people have their plight and their issues, they'll say, oh, you have to wait until figure it out. We need more evidence and facts, even though it's a lot of evidence and a lot of facts in front of us, but they need like darn near 100% proof. They need the video. They need to say, they need a testimony, confession. They need witnesses. They need everything. I'm over exaggerating, but you get the point. They just need way more than they usually need for other groups, right? Other groups just complain a little bit and things are solved. Us, we have to have all the facts, evidence, everything to the T, barely any blemishes, perfect situation, perfect scenario for us to be believed and for our cries to be heard, right? So when Black people are saying, well, we need to figure this out, they're essentially saying, well, it's not really our problem. It's not our issue because, when we have certain things going on in our community, are these groups of people that you want us to stand up for, do they always have our backs? Are their voice loudest? Are they allies? You got to think about it. Are they allies? Yeah, nobody wants anybody to get, like, innocent people to get murdered. Everybody wants the conflict to be resolved pretty quickly. But, that's Black people are basically saying, hey, you guys got to figure that out. That's not our situation. Like, to provide any, community support, especially when it comes from a financial aspect, because, that community is known to want to control a lot of things, Jewish community here in the United States. So I don't know why a lot of Black celebrities and Black people of notoriety or infamy want to actually come out and try to stand for them. I got my theories why. Maybe because, that's part of the people who put a little money in their pocket and, control them. So that's understandable. But, just to have the everyday Black person trying to support Kate, I don't think that's good.
Yeah, especially too when you gotta have the whole story, right? Because that's the thing. They'll have Black folks out here talking about stuff. They only got half the story, and then they're out here looking half smart, right? So sometimes it's better to just make sure you don't say anything till you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you don't need to say anything anti-Semitic, but hey, just saying, hey, I got to figure out what's going on. That's not anti-Semitic. That's not bashing anybody. You don't know what's going on. You're ignorant.
Right.
You need more stuff. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm going to be on the sidelines.
Right. There's absolutely nothing wrong with reserving your opinion until you get all the information. And I think that they do that a lot of times with Black people when you're talking about things that are going on in other countries, right? But the other part of the problem is the fact that you don't hear about what Black folks have to say about issues that concern Black folks, other Black folks. Like, what was the last time you heard anything about the Congo or, Haiti? Haiti got so much stuff going on, but you very rarely hear about some of the things that are going on there, especially from Black people.
Important one. Oh, sorry to cut you off, Sam. I was just going to say Haiti's an important one because, we had that issue of migrants being turned away and they disappear very quickly. And we have an immigration problem. But when it's Hispanics, right, non-Black Hispanics coming across, mestizos or maybe even white Hispanics, right, because Hispanics not considered a race in this country. It's an ethnic group. It's a big, legislation process. We don't know, undocumented workers can come here illegally and legally, of course, but illegally a lot of times. So, but when it comes to more of people of Black descent, African descent, it's an issue. And if the Black community and people in the Black community of notoriety and fame are silent on that issue, not saying that those Haitians should come over here illegal anyway, but I think it needs to be treated same across the board. And I prefer, this is my opinion, I prefer you should go illegally because other countries don't play that. So I think the U.S. their stance on immigration.
With regards with the immigration, like I'm not gonna delve too deeply into that. But what I will say is the treatment has to be the same across the board. You can't. Like, I get the fact that some people come through as refugees because they're escaping some sort of political asylum or whatever. And, I definitely think that there has to be different channels for them. But at the same time, when you're talking about people coming from Haiti and then coming from like Cuba, I remember this little boy, I think his name was Elian Gonzalez. He came over here on a float, right? And then there was also a little Haitian boy who came over from Haiti on like a piece of wood or something. I don't know how they do it. They get through, but they get here. They send the Haitians back so fast, like you can't even blink an eye before they get sent back.
The Democratic regime, so you can't say, "Oh, it's just a Republican regime that does that."
It's just the way our country handles it, right?
When it's majority Democrats, they do the same thing about it.
There was a whole bunch of Haitians that came in.
Pages, the babies are missing and all this other stuff.
So right, but like remember when they had those Haitians that came over and then they were like there and then literally in 2 days they had them on an airplane and gone back to Haiti.
Yeah, everybody was like, even the little media was like, man, it's deserted here. We
just got here. Like, the media.
We're trying to recover it, like, record it, report it and everything. And they just disappeared. So
And they was out there beating them like slaves. Remember? Like that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day.
Right. They had the guys on the horse. I think it was in Texas.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if we did a podcast or show about that, but basically they was on the border. The border patrol was doing a little too much.
They were, but you don't ever see images like that.
But you don't see it across the board. It's not across the board. It's not like, hey, if you do this around our border, no matter who you are, we're going to do this to you. That's not how it goes.
Right, and that's part of the issue, right? So that's part of the issue. So when you're looking at the comparison between the two, like it's not okay. You know what I mean? It's not okay to treat some people better than you treat others when everybody's looking for the same thing. They're looking for peace. They're looking for asylum. They're looking to be able to start their lives over. They're looking to escape something. You know what I'm saying? And so the unfair treatment is crazy. And then what we do is but then what they do is they prop a Black person up there so they can be a puppet and go say whatever it is that they need them to say so that everybody else is like, yeah, because so-and-so says so. I agree.
What was it? Even when our celebrities do say something, right? I think Jamie Foxx has said a kind of comment, and then what was it? Jennifer Aniston, I think, believe she even got on him about that. Like, and he wasn't even saying anything kind of crazy. That's the interesting part,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that. That's just the celebrity standpoint. Even when they do try to do something that you say is normal of a Black person that's grown up in this country, like say, hey man, this is kind of out of control. It's like they always got to be reined back in. They say, hey man, you don't want to mess up your paper, your life, your celebrity status. They start attacking you. Then you got maybe white peoples of notoriety and fame and stuff like that attacking you. So it's always pressure on us to support and help other groups. But when it comes to our plight, it's not helpful. Like reparations, everybody knows we were done mistreated. Where's everybody crying like, come on, get these Black folks their money. Get these Black folks their money. I understand it's an issue with Congress. I understand there's an issue with, maybe the logistics of it. But we need to see more people of notoriety and supporting if they want us to support, and even Congress people, because that benefits Black people as a group. So anything that's going to benefit us as a group, I'm with it. Like, I mean, hey, I'm pretty sure every Black person, hey, would you like some cash payments and any benefits, free this, free that? They'll be like, yeah. So I think it's a unanimous decision across the board. Of course, you'll have some of those coons that be like, no, we don't deserve, we need to pull each other by bootstraps or something. Just like, who's paying you? And I'm sure they're not paying you that much to be talking.
And they ain't paying you enough. Exactly. Because at the end of the day, like, it's frustrating watching our country giving money away to other countries when
like
right here in the country that deserve
it. They're just making us seem like we're stupid. Like, oh well, we do owe you, but it's gonna be too expensive. That argument is null and void. We sent hundreds of billions.
You know what that is? It's like, when you are working at a low level job, right? And you go to your boss and it's time for a raise, and they know damn good and well they ain't gonna give you one. But what they do is instead they pat you on the back, give you the okie doke, and be like, yeah, if you just hang on for a couple more months, Mike, or a couple more years. You know what I'm saying? Ray. And the next thing you know, a couple years go by and ain't no raise. You see what I'm saying? Oh, you know what? And then all they got is excuses. So then, that's what happens with reparations. But as far as what's going on internationally, like it's crazy because we send money, aid, and military everywhere, damn near.
And Ukraine's a good example too.
Ukraine is a great example because what happens in Ukraine?
Because I was forced to give them money. I have a story behind that, but I'll let you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're having a conflict with Russia, and we sent them all kinds of money, like all kinds of money, just money, more than once. Only sorry, my phone went off. Only for Black people to be like, hey, remember us? All right, we still here.
Right.
We kind of built this country. We just wonder if we can, and they're like, but what's happening over there in Ukraine, don't worry about it. We'll look into that. Or, you know what, right now it's not a good time. Or I don't think we should do that right now. And, Slavery been over for a long time. And just so we're clear, in case people don't know, white people were given reparations when they lost their slaves. Let's think about that. Let's let that set in.
Those
After,
people get reparations too, by the way.
right, let's let that set in for a second. After white folk, slave owners lost their slaves,
Japanese.
after the Civil War, white folks that didn't have the slaves out in the fields working received reparations.
Right.
The
And
people
black people,
that brutalized and did horrific things to black people got reparations.
and black people were supposed to get something, but they felt like it would have started up some issues again and all of that. So they kind of walked it back. So they know black people in the United States, native blacks, whatever you want to call us, descendants of slaves, foundational black Americans, whatever the label is you want to call us, that everyone knows we deserve something. Right. So because every other group's got some, Indians are still getting stuff. Native Americans are still getting stuff. Jewish Jewish people are still reaping benefits here. Everybody's getting
Japanese got
money
the
for their
Japanese got.
flights. And what did you say, Sam?
Don't forget about the Japanese. They also received reparations for the internment camps.
Yeah, Japanese are getting it. Every group in this country is getting something, it seems like, except Black Americans. And that's the issue I have with, the Democrats always saying, hey, Republicans are bad. I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing to help us? If they're so bad, okay, I agree with you. They're bad, but you're just as bad. So we should just do our own thing. We're for sale. Whoever the highest bidder, that's who we're going to support. Whoever gives us the most benefit. So get to work giving us some of the things we want. And I did want to mention Ukraine because I have a story that I was going to tell Sam, and I'll tell y'all guys about it as well. That basically I was hanging out at a little local bar club place. I wanted to get a drink. I'm like, let me get a drink, right? And then I had to do a Ukraine donation. Like I didn't have the option to get it off or not. And they didn't even tell me. It's like it's just they just added it in there.
You were required to give a donation?
I wanted a drink, not to donate to Ukraine, and they just forced it in there. And I'm like, I already done paid. I'm like, what?
What do you mean they forced it in there? It was on the bill?
Yeah, like like you get a drink, let's say it's $9.99 or $10, then it's like, tax or whatever, tip. And then I see Ukraine is added in there. They sprinkled that in there. Ukraine relief or whatever. I'm like, what kind of scams they're running with this Ukraine stuff?
Don't ever go back.
That was a scam.
Don't go back to it. What that sounds
I didn't order another drink. I'm like, man, what's all this? I'm used to the price, maybe a tip percentage or tax, but not relief funds. That's usually optional. Hey, would you like to donate to this? You say yes or no. That's it. Like I don't want to
give people the option. What if you not with it? What if you stand for Russia? I mean, I'm not saying that you do, but I'm just saying, like, how you gonna support somebody? This is a free country. I think people have to remember that. Even though we're not free to do all of the things that we want to do and say all of the things we want to say, it's still a free country. And so you have the ability to make those types of decisions about where you want to spend your money. You know what I'm saying?
And one more international thing I wanted to mention, because I do think it's important, is like we can also look at the whole situation with France and Nigeria and other Western African countries trying to actually, stand up for themselves for the mistreatment. You don't see everybody trying to cape for that. Like, hey, we need to help them. We need to support them. No, these countries are trying to cut ties with the U.S. because the U.S. is on France's side on this issue. I don't think one country should always just side with their allies, even when they're doing wrongdoing. Like, France is not right here. They're not giving these people a fair deal. They're basically getting their resources distracted to support, empower France with their energy, with their economy, and they're not getting the short end of the stick. And their countries don't have a good reputation. They're not as developed as they would like. And it's like, that's why you have a lot of these coups, because these guys are coming out saying, hey, we need better leadership. Yeah, it's unfortunate it had to happen through a coup, but, change had to happen to these countries. So, and they're just trying to defend themselves. And France is talking about threatening like violence and stuff like that and going to war in those other countries to say they're going to support France. So, this it's not looking good. but nobody's saying anything. I don't hear anybody like coming out like, France is wrong about this. They need to give, the Africans in that country, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, a fair deal for their resources that they're providing. Not a 90-10 split, like, or whatever it is currently. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like, I have what you need, and I get 10% of the profit. You get 90%. Like, you don't do anything.
I do think that, the world needs to revamp how they look at dealing with their allies. I think that if you don't agree with your ally, you shouldn't be at war with them, but you shouldn't feel required to support them if you don't agree with what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's not, you're an ally. Yeah, that is a level of loyalty there. But sometimes abstention, meaning not participating, is helpful because it's not just, hey, this is our ally. It's also, hey, this is our ally. You know what? Nah, I take that back. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we need those allies, because we've had allies come through and help us when I know that they think that we were wrong or when we were absolutely wrong.
Yeah, but you can still criticize us. I feel like other allies kind of critique the U.S. a little bit about what they're doing. They might not be strong advocates, especially when it comes to the African American standpoint of things, but I do feel like they'll say something like, hey, the U.S. shouldn't have did that, they should do that, like, certain things. I know other countries that are kind of in the middle, like, let's say China, they're not really our ally, but they're not an enemy either. They definitely criticize us about a lot of stuff, but that's because I guess it's like a respectful competition between U.S. and China.
Right, they're definitely our biggest competitors.
So I think that's why it's like that relationship. But I just think this is my opinion. I just feel like if we are doing something bad, we should be able to be criticized. Not saying, oh, we're not going to support you. We're not going to do this or that and the third, but just say, hey, you're wrong here. You should try to do something better. It's not necessarily to say, hey, we need to get involved and stop you physically like they do in other countries.
Yeah,
like,
but we always because we're the
we have protests and we don't get Black people protest, right? Other countries don't get involved, but if other people protesting, we get involved. So that's interesting.
Right, but that's the whole basis of everything, right? Every time something happens internationally and people got something to say, some Black person gets propped up to say some things. They very well may feel that way, right? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that they absolutely agree with the things that they say. It's just interesting that so many Black folks will just hop up and just start talking about a lot of conflicts that may not necessarily affect them heavily. I mean, granted, now the war that's going on over in Israel has the ability does affect us, right? It affects everybody in America. Why? Because number one, we're sending money over there. Number two, we got military that we send over there. Number three, because they are in our whole thing.
The greatest ally in the Middle East.
Right, but it has also had impact on things like the stocks here in America, the value and price of gold, oil, things like that. All of those things have potential to affect Americans. I don't care if you're Black, white, Asian, Latino, Latina. I don't care what it is, right? I don't care. It has the ability to affect everybody. But at the same time, to get up there and make so many strong comments and like, what are you doing? What are you doing to help the situation other than getting on here and telling everybody to go screw? You know what I mean? I think that people really got to think about that and the impact that brings, especially when you're making those statements without full knowledge of everything that's going on. And even if you have full knowledge, don't get up there and give one side to the story. You see what I'm saying? Be objective, especially when you have a following, people that follow you, people that listen to what you have to say. So I think that's another thing. Like celebrities, a lot of celebrities get up there and they talk about things and they provide their opinion, when it may be just more suitable to remain objective in the limelight and have your opinion behind closed doors. So, I do think that, that could help with that, because like I said, when things get fixed or resolved and more information comes out, that black person that got up there and was saying all that stuff, now they look crazy. Kanye is a great example. Now, whether or not you believe George Bush knocked down the towers, whether or not you believe he cares about Black people, Kanye definitely got up there after 9/11 and said George Bush doesn't care about Black people. But now Kanye is over here turning his back on Black people. So, at the end of the day, I think that we have to just be mindful about those types of things. That is really the solution that I have. Do you have any other solutions that you wanted to add, Malik?
I was gonna say, I think, people, we really have to be educated with this media and propaganda arm really tells us, right? Because, a lot of these media outlets are governmental mouthpieces, and we have to do our due diligence and facts ourselves, go to more different sources, not mainstream media, because, they've been known to lie to us. I remember the whole Libya situation. They kind of lied saying, hey, they had got Gaddafi and them captured. Those guys come out celebrating. I'm like, they're not captured. They're out there walking the streets. And it's like, come on, you can't be like, a lot of media outlets will lie, or they're not saying the right accurate information, or they're not doing their jobs in an appropriate way, right? Like, you should be doing your due diligence. They're either lying sometimes, they're not doing their jobs and their due diligence of obtaining the facts and stuff. Like, I know they're always trying to break the news and break the story no matter what, but I'd rather have more accurate reporting, really focus on more accurate reporting, more fair reporting, instead of such biased media, biased one way instead of another. I want more objectivity. And I think they need to be held to that objective standard. Because people do listen to this, people do believe the media portrayals, the images, and things like that, and they'll think, maybe what they're saying is right. It must be right, because sometimes people can't look beyond that. Like, hey, your government or your media or whatever can actually potentially lie to you. Not saying they always do, but they can. So that's like the basic solution I have. Like, really focusing on the media and what they're saying to you, because I think that's the most important thing, and for Black people to develop their media so we even better than what we have it right now, especially Black Americans, so we can get our images out there more positively and actually have an impact and effect on things, even in a better way that we already currently doing.
Yeah. So with that, guys, that's going to bring the topic to a close. Going to go ahead and give you guys the motivational minute. And I found a quote by somebody by the name of Thomas Crum, and it says, the quality of our lives depends not on whether or not we have conflicts, but on how we respond to them. And I thought that was really, really important, because here we are today talking about different conflicts going on internationally, right? And the reason why these conflicts have been going on since the beginning of time is because the way people have been responding. Every time it seems like there might be a peace treaty or something like that, there's a crack, and then they go back to fighting. You see what I'm saying? And so I do think it's incredibly important to find an amicable way to respond. When I was in law school, I had a law school professor who made a statement that stuck with me, and it's about finding justice. A lot of times people don't understand. People think that when you receive justice for something that you won, and it's not like that. He used to say, when both parties walk away slightly unhappy, that's how you know justice was served. That's one of the reasons why when you think about Lady Justice, she's carrying the balance beam. It's like a double or triple entendre. I know one of the reasons is because you have to weigh both sides, right? Another one is because you have to see whether or not the weight of the evidence is enough, right? Another one is because, like, there's all these different things, but at the end of the day, is it balanced? Is everybody happy when they walk out, or is everybody a little upset? If everybody's a little upset, that's when you know that justice has been served. And so, the problem here is that a lot of times everybody's trying to walk away feeling like they won. And this is not one of those situations. Everybody is not going to win. All is fair in love and war. We have to remember that. And so next, I want to talk about our book of the month. It's called The Souls of Black Folks. It's written by W.E.B. Du Bois. It's going to be shown right here at the end of this podcast, right along with our social media handles. And our Black business of the month is called the Harlem Chocolate Factory. Shout out to the HBCUs. Clark Atlanta had its homecoming this weekend. Spelman and Morehouse have theirs next
I
weekend.
think Dell State has something too. Shout out to Dell State University.
And Morris Brown was last week. Reason why I brought up the homecoming is because these two young ladies that founded Harlem Chocolate Factory, both are Spelman graduates. They have a chocolate factory out there in Harlem. on Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard. So y'all, please make sure you go ahead and check it out, especially with the holidays coming up. Find you some really good desserts and get nice gifts to give, things like that. And so we want to thank you all so very much for tapping in with us and just, going through this discussion with us about Black folks as it relates to international issues in this country and then around the world. If you ever want to be on our show, please feel free to reach out to us. You can DM us. You can, hit us up on YouTube, on Instagram, all that stuff. Let us know if you want to be on the show, if you have a topic that you're interested in hearing us talk about. If you have a Black business that you'd like for us to advertise, we highlight it for a whole month. We don't really ask you for anything, just to give us the information, and we go ahead and highlight it. And also, if you want to be in the show. Oh yeah, and also too, we air on Wednesdays on Instagram, right here for our What's Up Wednesday segment at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can make sure you tap in with us there. You can that one's far more interactive than what we do today. But everybody's welcome. We love y'all. We thank y'all so much for supporting us. We're coming up on 3 years doing this. It'll be 3 years next month. And again, shout out to E. We hope you are enjoying your time off. And if you guys want to follow us, our social media handles are at the end. So please make sure you tap in. And also too, I'm not sure if my social media handle for Tagged is on there, but for those of you guys who want to follow me on the app Tagged, it is Sam I Yam. That's 2 M's on both of them. And other than that, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and tell a friend. Got anything, Malik?
Not really. One more thing. I'll say if you guys want us to talk about a certain topic, just shoot us a message on either YouTube, Instagram, and we'll be sure to get back to you as well. And thank you guys for tuning in, and see you guys next time.